Hi everybody, this is Damien from Legend Life. With our Legend Stories talks, we talk to inspiring people who are living their purpose, people who are looking to make a difference and positively impact and change the world. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Danny Bent. Danny is an author, motivational speaker. He's a movement maker, happiness guru, and a whole range of other things, as well as an adventurer. So Danny has represented Great Britain in triathlon. He has cycled from London to Bombay. He's raised over £1 million for various charities. He's also started a number of movements, some of which have achieved Guinness World Records, and he's all about helping people live their best life. So Danny, how are you today?
I'm great, Damien. It's great to be on the show.
Very good. So to get started, maybe you can give us a little bit of a background about yourself and then where this kind of like journey to where you are now kind of started.
Yeah, I think the journey started probably as a 7-year-old hyperactive, dyslexic child going to school, getting the teacher's red pen all over my books. And then I'd come home and I said to my dad, and I was getting in a bit of trouble. And I went home to my dad and I was like, this is what the other kids are doing and this is what I'm doing. And my dad's response to that is the foundation of everything, I think. And that he just said to me, don't worry what anyone else is doing, just be the best version of yourself. And I think everything you just talked about is a product of that one statement from my dad that just set me up with the kind of right ideas for life. And I wasn't, from that point on, I wasn't striving to be what other people were striving to be. I was just striving to be me. And I think if you can start setting those wheels in motion in your life, everything changes. You don't need to focus on happiness or wealth or fulfillment. Just being you is just the greatest thing we can be.
No, brilliant. Like, as you said, like a lot of people are too worried about being someone else or trying to be something that society, parents, or everyone else kind of influencing, and they're not really living true to themselves. So it's good to see that your father kind of pointed you in the right direction at a very, very early age.
Yeah, I guess we all have these voices in our heads talking to us. They're just repeating things that have been powerful to us in the past, whether that's from influential people or parents or friends or just your own like internal mutterings of what that's kind of created. And if you listen to those voices too much, they get quite a power over you. And I guess what that did for me was to give me that strength that no one's voice is important in my life. The only voice that's important is my own. And with that, you start to lose those kind of, I love the idea when, people are having a conversation and I like two people face to face are having a conversation and one of them's got a spot on their cheek or something. And they're like, oh no, they're looking at my spot. They're kind of judging me on my spot or whatever, whatever that spot may be, the blemish in their life. And it's kind of like, the arrogance to think that they're thinking about you when all they're thinking about is worrying about what's going on in their own lives. And I love that idea that you just don't need to worry about what anyone else is thinking because they're all worrying about themselves, and you just step into the room as you. Take your place.
No, awesome. So what do you think is your life purpose? So what are you here for?
I mean, I guess you can give two answers to that because we are just animals. We're no different. And, all that we want to do is be fed, be safe, reproduce, all that sort of stuff. And, but I think beyond that kind of the human veneer that we've kind of pasted over these animals, I just think for me, I just want to leave this world in a bit of a better place. If you can leave it in a better place than the way you find it, kind of thing. And you can break that down into like micro details of if every conversation, or at least some of the conversations you have in a day, can leave someone just feeling a little bit more chirpy or with a slight idea in their brain, then you're already doing that on a micro level, and that starts happening at the kind of macro level, the bigger level.
So you're saying your underlying mission is to kind of leave a positive impact on the world. And so what's the vehicle you use to make that happen?
I mean, I guess the thing that has just kind of naturally happened, I don't know whether it was chosen or it just kind of started happening, was probably my athletics, my running, bit of triathlon and stuff like this. In that was where that's where I found my community and my supportive network, and that community is the community is provided, friendship, love, and support through everything. And the actual physical doing of it is the meditation, the place you go to find answers, the place you go to solve your problems, to have space, time without people, or to have time with people, and all those sorts of things. And I don't think it actually matters what that thing is.
Yeah.
It's just about finding something that you can be passionate about, and you get into flow doing, and you enjoy, and people around you are enjoying. And so basically the answer to the question is, for me, has been running. It's been the thing that I've used to create. People come for the running,
Yeah.
but they leave with a community, or they leave with a slight change to their perception of life.
Okay, so where did this all kind of like start? So as you mentioned, you've been a high-level triathlete. You've done a few adventures along the way to kind of like push your limits, which I guess is kind of you trying to see what your potential is and kind of like challenge yourself. And then it's kind of evolved into taking all of that to build something and make some kind of a difference. So where did that kind of start?
I guess I've always been kind of inquisitive, I guess. And when I was doing all these races and everything, I would write race reports. Just I don't really know why I was doing it, really. And I'd send it out to magazines or wherever else, and I've got a curiosity that wants to experience life. So I wanted to know what writing these articles was about, or
Yeah.
what taking photos is all around. Like that inquisitiveness. And so I guess I'd already started building on these things, and I was already living a life that was slightly less ordinary. But of course, like cycling, when you do something like I cycled from London to India, and that was 6 months on a bicycle. You're always surrounded by people, but you're always alone. So there's a lot of time when you're sitting on your bike, and you've got processes, and I'm sure that time is like meditation. And I came out of that knowing so much more about myself. And then also you have difficulties, and you learn about how you deal with difficulties, or you learn how you deal with conflicts, or whatever these lessons are, something like that. Again, it's taking steps forward. You're starting to learn about yourself. You're starting to learn about the world. And of course, like every time you stop, there's a bazillion people around you that want to talk to you, even if they can't speak English, and all that sort of stuff. And you build these human skills as well, interacting with people, even though you can't speak a language. Like humans are so dependent on language, and I can't remember what the stat is. I'm sure we can find it somewhere, but the amount we communicate with our voices is, I'm pretty sure it's something less than 50%. I'm just kind of speaking here from memory.
Yeah.
But all the other things that we do communicate exactly the same way. And so when you take voice out of it, all of those skills get a lot better. They get heightened.
Yeah.
I'm waffling on about a whole load of stuff, but really the point of change, there's all these little things that have made me step forward in a different way, and step away from the path that most people are taking.
Yeah.
But then on April the 15th, 2013, that's my sister's birthday, April 15th. The bombs went off at the Boston Marathon finish line. And for me, someone who's taken so much from the running community, to see and I've obviously been in that situation where you see the finish line, you throw your hands in the air, you smile, you cheer at the crowd are cheering at you, and then suddenly there's silence because a bomb's gone off and your people are lying around you in their own blood. And for that to happen just struck such a chord that I just thought I had to do something to probably repay the kindness I've been given all my life by the running community, but also to show my support to those people, and to show that it's not just the American people, not just the people of Boston, not just the people of America, not just, it's runners around the world felt that blast, even if it wasn't physically, it was just in our kind of spirits.
Yeah.
And so I organized a continuous running relay from LA to Boston, from West Coast to East Coast, to try and raise, just to show. And the idea is that we had this Peace Lily baton, and that we wanted the American people to carry it from LA to Boston, 3,300 miles without stopping. Continuous relay, bringing everyone together to show our support and to raise a little bit of money if we could for the people of who had been affected by the bombings, because obviously their lives are absolutely transformed.
Yep.
And obviously 3 people died on the day, and a policeman died later in the shootout. And the idea was raise a few £1,000s. We needed 330 people to make it happen. We didn't go out there with like big aspirations, and to begin with we thought it might not even work because we're Brits. Americans do have that kind of America first kind of, historically at least, and we weren't sure whether it was going to get taken up. But what eventually happened is so we came up with this idea, and we arrived in LA 7 weeks after the bombing. So we kind of put all this together with thousands of people signed up to take part, and by the time we finished doing One Run for Boston, we raised over $500,000 for the people affected. And we had no skill set, no right to put on something that would create so much change in people's lives, create such a great community, to raise so much money. We just had an idea, and we weren't afraid to. We didn't even know what the hell we were doing. We just did it. It was like, we set out in motion before we started, and we kind of planned around it. It was almost like we were laying the trail as we were moving through.
Yeah.
And I love that. And we started doing it. There was just the 2 of us, 3 of us working on it, and we weren't getting very far. But every single runner that signed up probably had felt a certain similar emotion to what we had, and hadn't known where to put that energy, and we gave them a place to put that energy. And by the time we'd got 10 people signed up, we'd got 10 people equivalently working for us, because they were so passionate about it that they started reaching out to all their friends. And then you've got 100, and then you've got 1,000, and each person that signed up wasn't just signing up to be part of, they weren't just signing up to say, here's my medal. They were signing up to stand up and say, I'm with you. And that was the most amazing thing.
No, incredible. And so I believe you're kind of like taking that similar success to London to do a similar kind of, continuous running relay, which I think got you a Guinness World Record. So maybe you can talk a little bit about, how that came about, the inspiration, and then I guess distill it all to kind of like find out, now you become a movement maker. So like, how did that all work?
I guess, saying I've become a movement maker is probably a little bit tongue in cheek, isn't it? Like, I've just started doing things. That's all I've done. And, people put labels on you. But so we the coolest thing was we raised all that money. We helped all the people affected by the bombings. They were touched by our presence in their country, all that sort of stuff. But the biggest thing that happened was this community, and the beauty of, me passing you the baton. It doesn't matter who you are. If every baton handover is as important as the other, because if you don't do it, the whole thing falls to pieces. It's like a
Yeah.
chain. If one chain link breaks, the whole thing falls to pieces. So there's this, there were these moments where people that potentially wouldn't have normally had a conversation with each other were forced into these situations. Not a lot of force, but just a
Yeah.
tiny little gentle push together. They might end up shaking hands, having a hug. They pass the baton. They have they share a moment, and that is really, really crucial with everything I like to do. Is that if you can share a moment, then you feel something.
Yeah.
And at that point, like, wow, if this brings people together, but also breaks down the barriers that are bringing people, keep people apart. That's kind of twofold attack. And I was talking to people within Sadiq Khan's team about this is the mayor of London, about
Yeah.
the gang culture that was building up in London. And I told him about what happened in Boston. I said, could you do something here? And I just thought it would be a pleasure to do
Yeah.
it. And with that, London Relay was formed. We did it for a couple of years. And the cool thing about London is it is a mix. But I love London. I love the way it's one of the most powerful cities in the world, one of the most successful cities in the world, and it is probably one of it. I think of it as the whole world squished into a 1 mile radius. So you've got people from everywhere, all types of people, and I think the reason London is a success is because all these people work together to make it a success. And
Yeah.
there is this kind of cross multinational cross culture thing about that city. But and so we had people from CEOs of companies, we had politicians take part, but we had builders, we had students, we had homeless people, we had refugees, we had gang members. And there's that beauty that when we all put our trainers on and we all put our shorts on, where it breaks down the back, we're all equal at that
Yeah.
point. And whether you're the CEO or a refugee, that absolutely means nothing when you're at that start line, or you're running next to each other in the street. You're both runners, and that's that beauty of the running community, I think. And so yeah, that was amazing. Again, we raised a load of money, and the raising of the money, people bang on about that, but it's not. It is, for me, that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is bringing people together, and
Yeah.
that's cool. And the dream at that point was like, crikey, we can unite a city, we can unite a continent. What else can we do? Like, could
Yeah.
we do something worldwide? And an idea was kind of raised in my head, and I have been working on it for probably since Boston happened, and that's
Yeah.
about 8. Well, it's more than that now. Yeah, it's about 8 years in the making. And we were thinking about taking a baton all the way around the world and trying to unite humanity as a whole, not just a continent or a city. And that was kind of nicely flowing. We've planned a route. We've got all sorts of things in place. And then, just like with everyone else, COVID hits the fan, and everything has to change. And you can't pass a plastic baton, no matter if it's peace lily or not, to another person that could be spreading this killing pandemic virus.
True.
So that had to be changed. And there was these thoughts. This is very early on, because I had a friend who was in the know and said, Dan, you've got to change what you're doing, because this is not going to happen. Things are going to get much worse. This is probably in February of last year, saying that. And we started looking into this. One of the things that had bothered me about the World Relay was that we were only going to about 40 countries en route. And there's 195 countries in total. And so, a World Relay that only goes to 40 countries, I think that didn't, it was going to be fine, because I think we were thinking of changing the route as time went on and everything like this, if we did it again and again. But as a one-off, it's that's not the whole world. And so we were able last year to start thinking, well, this is people are stuck in their homes, they're looking for something to do. There is a whole wave of injustice, inequality, things happened last year, and we thought, well, let's try and do something, what we're always doing is trying to break down these inequalities between people and to bring people together. So why don't we make that a target of what we're doing? We created something called One Run Global, and it was an opportunity to run on the 10th of December. That was Human Rights Day.
Yeah.
And we set out to try and find runners in every single country in the world, and to have those people run for at a particular time for their hour of their time zone. So it starts in Kiribati. We did it at 7 p.m. That's changed for this year, but 7 p.m. They ran till 8 p.m. But by that point, you're looking at New Zealand, and they're starting to be at 7 p.m. So the people of New Zealand, they pass the baton to the people of New Zealand, and New Zealand run for 1 hour, and then the people of New Zealand pass the baton to the people of Eastern Australia, and it carries on like the fireworks of New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
And so we kind of virtually passed this baton around the whole world, and we had people in North Korea, Sudan, Chad, Brazil, New Zealand, Australia, China, the UK, Sweden, Russia, every single country in the world, and loads of these small Polynesian islands that have got virtually no population. And but we found someone there who was willing to do the run, and I think we're definitely the first running event to have done something that was completely and utterly global.
Yeah.
And potentially, one of the first events in the whole world that's ever been completely and utterly global. The struggle it took to get a runner in some of these countries, we could have recruited another 5,000 people in the UK or the US probably, but it was just important to us to have everyone involved, and that's where that went off. We had 15,000 people, 10,000 school kids took part, and it was like totally amazing. Everyone has got a smartphone. Not everyone, but lots of people have smartphones now, and the amount of people that took part, and they're filming themselves, sending us photos, videos from all nationalities, from every single landscape was covered, and it was just the most beautiful thing to just see grow over 24 hours. And we weren't sure we were going to go a one-off and just kind of just do it once, but it was just so amazing, and we feel like we only just scratched the surface of what's possible with that. So this year we're doing it again. It's going to be the 16th of October. I think we'll go on sale around the beginning of July, middle of July, and we're just trying to do the same but make it even bigger. We've got all sorts of new stuff coming, from a global running club to apps so we can track ourselves, and the list goes on, because you've got a year to prepare for this one rather than just having a few months for the other one. And so that's where we are. That's the last kind of community we built. We've got a little private group where everyone's just chatting, sharing what they're up to, talking about what's going on in their country right now. And that kind of is the real beauty of this. It's the conversations that aren't started by us. It's the ones that other people start, and they go off and end up doing amazing things together.
Yeah.
That's people traveling from country to country to visit other runners who they've only met through our events. That is mega cool, because you never know, like, they may only spend a night just hanging out, having a beer, sitting around a fire, chatting about what's going on in life, or going to a ball game or whatever it is, and then who knows where those conversations lead. And that's the beauty of this. You hope that you can be a spark that, or a seed that then grows into an oak tree. And that's all we can ever hope for, is just to be the spark. And if that catches, that's great.
No, awesome. So what do you think is the key ingredient for the success you've had? Like, what do you think have been the key elements that have made this kind of like resonate with so many people?
I mean, I would just almost go back to the start of our conversation and just say authenticity, because this is something that we have just set out to do. There's no other gains other than what we are kind of giving to people, and that it comes from a real true place. And I think that is definitely key for success in these things. And but then I think there's also we're learning the whole time.
Yeah.
And obviously when we did the thing with Boston, it was, we didn't know what the hell we were doing, but we're slowly learning what works and what doesn't work, and you're trying to give that flavor of a community, talking about people, introducing people to other people that might be useful, being curious about the people who are involved. And I think, super core is do something blooming different that's not, not being done by 1,000 other people. I think we all like see success, success of Apple or whatever, and then we want to create something that is going to be as successful as that. We're never going to be as successful as Apple, but we can create our own magnificent success at something else. And that is, we're like, Jamie is my business partner in this, and we like, number one is that we just want to create different things that have never been done before. If it happens that you break a record, or you do, or you find that you've got 195, the first time 195 different countries have participated in the same event, that's cool. And it just gives flavor to something that you're like, oh, you can go and do your regular thing, but here's something that's just a little bit a different slant on what you love and like in life.
Yeah. No, brilliant. So, well, let's talk a little bit about success, because you were mentioning that there. So what's your definition of success?
So, I mean, I guess we go back to that same conversation again. It's like, it's making a difference and changing the lives of people, or influencing the lives in a positive way. I think, as I've grown older, I'm beginning to realize you do need an element of financial success. Like, personally, I don't need that, but I do live in this world. Like, I know some people would question it, but I do need to be able to pay my rent, pay my bills, all that sort of stuff. And so, yes, I definitely am trying to make that something I don't have to worry about on a daily basis, which is, since I've started doing weird stuff, which probably started with a cycle to India. That was the first time I kind of just decided, sod it, to the norms of society in a big way. I've probably been surviving hand to mouth since then, and that, that's 13, 14 years ago now. And I'm getting to that stage now where I guess this is why not many people are doing what I'm doing, because it's bloody hard, and you have to sacrifice, and you have to believe, blindly or not, whichever way that is, that what you're doing is the right thing for who you are. And because you do make massive sacrifices for it, and you just need to feel that those sacrifices are worth it. And that's definitely how I feel, and this is my path, and all that sort of stuff.
No, brilliant. So, well, obviously along the way, as you said, you're probably facing quite a few challenges, lots of obstacles. So how do you push through that? So are there moments when you're feeling pretty demotivated, and I know you're a positive guy, very happy, but there must be some moments where you kind of like hit the wall and you start questioning. So how do you push through them?
Yeah, I guess the most regular moment, the thing that's said during those moments is like, I'll just go, I don't know, like I'll go to the bathroom and I'll just be washing my hands, and I'll just look in the mirror like, what are you doing? Just questioning it, because you've got no path. You don't know, there's no like markers along the way. It's not like, hey, I've got my promotion to associate director today or something like this. She's like, none of that stuff exists in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to judge what you're doing and judge your success and things like this. And obviously, like, again, the happiness thing is another label that other people have put on me. It's and I do love talking about it because I think, my parents have always said, like, I've always been smiling my whole life. It's just, I enjoy life. It's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, but 100% I have those down moments. And I think what you've got to, I guess the more you know about yourself, and you don't learn about yourself unless if you're just doing the same thing over and over again, especially if that same thing you're doing over and over again is something you don't like. And so if I know certain ways I can pull myself out of these things. And if some days it's not possible, but those things will work the next day, or they will work the day after that. And that, is very, very simple. It's do that thing you love, which for me probably is going to be doing something sporty, but anything physical is going to be amazing because you get natural drugs into your body that pump everything else out, or you push yourself so hard running that you can't think of anything else because all you can think about is drag things back to that simplistic state where I need air to live. And when you are desperate for air, you really aren't thinking about what's going on in your life, the things that may be testing you, or and I really love cold water swimming. So and I think that's exactly the same way. Like, as soon as you get in that cold water, your body's starting to die. And if you were to remain in there, you'd die. And so you just spend an amount of time, the amount of time you can handle within that water, and then come out and still be healthy. But that's, again, your mind is only thinking, goodness me, it feels like my body's being crushed by a vice, rather than thinking about the things you're worried. So there's those things. I go and do something you really, really love, and an easy response is to go and find those people that bring positivity into your life. Like, we all have people around us who are positive, and we all have people who are negative. And I absolutely love the statement, like, if you surround yourself with 7 angry people, you become the 8th angry person. And if you surround yourself with 7 positive people, you become the 8th positive person. Replace that adjective with anything you like, and you do become that person. So if you could surround yourself with a few really positive, decent people, they generally can pull you out of wherever you're at. So, I mean, yeah, they're just 2 skills. Be good to yourself, give yourself rest when you need it, listen to your body. All those sorts of things are really important when things are tough.
Yep. And do you also kind of like reflect back on what's the underlying why or the reason you're doing it, to kind of like also make you go forward? Like, when you're down, obviously you've got these tools to kind of like bring you up, and then do you also look back and go, reflect on, this is why I'm doing this, and does that kind of help you as well, kind of like push through those moments?
Yeah, I think so. I think, that whole purpose, if you can say whatever that purpose is at this precise moment, if that is happening, then that's the greatest. But for me personally, the times when I will feel down is when I feel that purpose that isn't existing. It's
Okay.
that you're hitting something that is preventing. You're trying to do good with the world, and then you find yourself in a position where there's a barrier that seems unsurmountable at that moment in time, that is preventing that from happening. And so that is that's probably for me where I would get those down moments.
Yep. Understood. So what about failures? Have you had any along the way, and what have you learned from them?
I mean, I guess there is two things with this. I've had so many failures that it's because I have lots of ideas, and no one hears about the crap ones because they never get so far as to reach it onto social media, or if they do, they're just a singular post that gets kind of lost in the tumbleweed of social media. Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of things that have kind of but that's part of the joy of all this. It's not like going in one direction. It's like, oh, where's this one going? Where's this one going? And some of them catch, some of them don't. And that's the joy of it. But and it's that it's cliche, totally, said a bazillion times, you don't learn anything until you fail.
Yeah.
And that is, I always say that's very, very true. But I also think I have this skills. I think we all have it, but for somehow it's been really trained well within me, is that when things aren't looking so good, what are the positives? What are the positives we can hang on to in this situation? And COVID could be a brilliant example. I can give you all sorts of examples from adventures all over the world, but COVID is a brilliant example in that when before COVID, I didn't know anyone in the street. I kind of could wave to my neighbors. And when COVID struck that first time, and I was like, well, I just thought, well, if anyone's isolated, I work from home anyway, so I can go and do a bit of shopping or whatever for anyone. And it just felt like a nice thing to do when things were blowing up. And I just put these little letters through everyone's door. We've got a few elderly people in the street and stuff like this. And from that kind of WhatsApp group was created. And then we all kind of play instruments badly, me and my two flatmates. And we ended up, they'd seen the brilliant musicians playing in Italy and stuff, and they were like, oh, you guys can play, well, why don't you play on Thursday before the NHS clap? Which is, the NHS clap was something we were doing to clap our national health workers.
Yeah.
And so we'd play for like 20 minutes whilst people drank a beer, and then we'd all clap for the NHS, and it became something that it was like a highlight of people's lives during that very first lockdown, when we really didn't know what the hell was happening. And there was banter thrown from house to house. And now when I walk down the road now, I wave to different houses as I'm saying hello to everyone. It's
cool.
It's a privilege to be on our street and to have that neighborhood feel that I don't know whether I've ever felt that before in my life. And now, because of COVID, we got it. And so that there's just one example, but I think no matter what's happening, you can, if you look hard enough, you can find something positive to say about it.
So what other messages do you, in your motivational talks about happiness and positivity, do you like to pass on to people?
Yep. I mean, finding that positivity, that's a big one. Finding your community, that's another one. Step away from your phone is not something I talk about in my talks, but it's definitely something I really would love to preach a little bit more, because social media has created the life I live. It wouldn't have been possible without social media. I didn't have the family connections or the ability to pay for people to get my name out there. But social media is, when we went to America, we'd never been to America. We didn't know anyone in America, but soon, Facebook at that time was the number one, and it facilitated everything. It's spreading across the whole nation, which is was incredible to watch, actually. I'm someone who was a little bit naive to social media at that time. And what else we talk about? Finding community. Come on, my goodness, my brain's a little bit melted. But yes, all those sorts of things we've been talking about, really.
Yeah.
They're the strong ones, and do good, be good to people.
Yep.
It like a great example is Boston. That when at the end of one of the people who was involved had both of his legs blown to pieces by the bombs, took part in the final leg of the relay, and he was in his wheelchair, but since he's now able to stand and walk again. But at that time, it was only 11 weeks after the bombing that he came back to the place where he'd been bombed, and he carried the peace lily baton over the finish line, and he looked up at me as we went over the finish line and just said, "This is when I start to heal, Dan." And that one statement for me is that will last my whole lifetime. I can be positive that I am doing a good thing in life because of those words until I die. I've already had purpose in affecting that one person's life, and do the things I'm doing, and you hear those things even more, which gives you even more strength to just continue going on. More strength, but also more pressure on yourself, because you know what that is what is capable.
Yeah.
I was going to say something, but yeah, but it doesn't matter whether that, holding the door open to someone who says thank you is just a lovely thing. That moment lasts 10 seconds, 30 seconds, but it makes you feel good. And if you can just be, at any opportunity, be kind to people, be aware that you don't know what's going on in their lives, and that that is the whole spectrum. You don't know what has happened in the lives of most of the people in prison, and they're there probably for a reason that you could easily be in if you'd been born into their shoes, kind of thing. And prison is just one way of looking at humanity, basically, as a whole. So if someone's shouting or aggressive, there's a reason for that. It doesn't just happen. People aren't born to be nasty to each other, and you just have to almost feel kindness to them that they've had something happen in their life that has facilitated them being in this situation right now.
Yep. No, very true. So what would you say to someone who is maybe a little bit unfulfilled with their life at this particular point of time, clearly hasn't discovered their purpose? What would you say about the benefits of, trying to find your purpose, or, how do they get out of this kind of like funk in their kind of life at this particular point of time?
Yeah, I think that it's very easy if someone, most people, if you look hard enough, have small dreams, even the tiny dreams, whatever they might be. Even if that dream is, I really would like to join a running club and be confident to go for a run. A simple thing that every single person can find a club that's suitable for them. It's like that's not a big thing, but we all have these barriers that stop us doing things, and those barriers are normally fear of what people are going to think of you, or that you can't do it, or whatever those things are. And I think the number one thing you can do is just try and pinpoint one very small thing that you would like to do that you haven't done, and then just go and have a go. And just it might not work out great, but again, come back, find another thing, have another go. And you'll find that things will start happening in your life, and even if it's just having a conversation with someone that you're wanting to avoid that conversation, you have the conversation, and then suddenly, like, oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought, or wow, I've been accepted into this group, or oh, I can't believe I was capable of that, or whatever that statement is. And then it's stepping past your own inner barriers, isn't it? This is obviously one of the things I talk about when I'm giving my talks. Stepping past those inner barriers, the things that are in your mind, and that does require sometimes telling those voices in your head to shut the hell up. And you do one, and then the world doesn't fall to pieces. You don't end up in abject humiliation, or whatever this fear that is in your head that is going to happen. Do those small ones. As soon as you've done one, everything else has a tiny glimmer of vulnerability. Every other kind of barrier you've put in your own life takes on this kind of shimmer that it might not be a real life thing, because you just walk through one of the other ones, and then try another one, and then try another one, and try another one, until you find yourself in a position where these barriers almost don't exist in your own head. And then you are starting to experience freedom, because we all live in these cages of our minds. And if you can keep stepping past these barriers, keep stepping past, you eventually arrive in a place of freedom where you're moving freely through life, doing what you inside want to do. And if you see a barrier, I'm kind of, in my mind, I'm kind of looking at the kind of a red sand that stretches out infinitely above and around you. Like, this is life, basically, you know. And then you see this barrier in there, and you're almost excited to see it because you just can't wait to just smash through it. I guess it'd be like going into a house with a big sledgehammer and being told, just knock everything to pieces. You know how kind of fun that is.
Yeah.
Do that in life with your own barriers, and then you think you've flattened everything, and then you're like, oh man, there's just another light bulb there that needs a good stomp with the hammer. And I don't know where that kind of that picture came from, but that's what it's like.
Yeah.
And then you don't have anything around you holding you back. All the chains disappear, all the walls disappear, all the kind of cages that you've put around yourself. And then it sometimes I will find it frustrating because life is so infinitely amazing if you're free.
Yeah.
And if you're not free, I mean, life's still good, but you're living in a different dimension.
Yeah, you're kind of like half living life, aren't you? You're not kind of like fully living it because you've limited your potential to enjoy, because you just said, no, I can't do this because I've got this, all these kind of little barriers.
Exactly. And those barriers may affect more than they were set up to do. It's like, oh, let's just put this wall here to stop me doing this one thing. But actually it stops you doing 10 things because of all the little things that are kind of around there. And you put too many of those up, and you're limited. You live in a very, very limited life.
Yeah.
And you know, definitely sometimes I will think, go, wow, wouldn't it be great to be in that situation where I can just limit my life? Because, you know, choice is sometimes a hold you back because you're not sure in which direction to go, because you can go in any direction.
Yeah.
But I would prefer to choose the situation where you can go in any direction rather than you've only got the one choice, and that is digging with a spoon through that red sand trying to escape. And actually you're digging deeper into it. And I would kind of, sometimes I would relate that to people's jobs or potentially even relationships that people build with other people. You are just sticking with that one thing that is potentially not life-giving.
Yeah, no, definitely. Very good insights. So what about over 40-year-olds? Similar kind of situation. A lot of them are creating their own artificial barriers, like, you know, using age as a limiter. You know, you're someone now who's joined the crowd, so you're in the 40s kind of like category. So what would you say to the rest of the 40-year-olds out there who, you know, aren't feeling fulfilled and, you know, believe it's too old, they're too old now to go off and live their purpose?
So there's a few things to look at here. I'm just going to tell my own personal story relating to my sports. And like you were saying, I've done some stuff. You know, I did some age group triathlon. It's not the highest standard, but it's, you know, it's not bad going when I was in my 20s. And my running now, I'm 42, I am hitting PBs that, and again, this is another thing because of COVID, where I'm hitting PBs that are faster than when I thought I was brilliant. And so, you know, physically even, and you know, probably 3 years ago, that wasn't the case. I was like, oh yeah, I'm over 40. There's never, no way I'm getting anywhere near them. And I'm like, I'm knocking minutes off them.
Yeah.
And part of that is I've had a bit more time because of COVID, because it's been restrictive in what you can create in terms of community. But just well, yeah, since I've been 40, we've run across Iceland, been in the Peruvian jungle. Like there's, and one of the guys who ran across Iceland with us, he was 58. He'd been a big drinker, a big smoker, and just turned his life around. And that's my biggest memory of arriving at that south coast of Iceland after running down from the north, was him going. It was just the wonder in his eyes, like, I've run across Iceland. I've run across Iceland. And you can just see cogs are moving in these people's heads that come with us on these. Like I do 2 a year, big adventures that people can join in with. And so, yeah, this is one of them. And you can just see the cogs changing. Like, oh, what else am I capable of? And it doesn't
Yeah.
mean physically; it means in life, in your job, in what you, again. I'm talking about barriers again.
Yeah.
But so physically we're great. Intellectually, emotionally, socially, we're so much more adept than we were when we were in our 20s. We had no, I'm thinking of me, I had no clue what the hell I was doing when I was in my 20s. I was just like going through life as a wild man. And now we have this, we've got experience, we have people around us who can, we're all growing in life. So these,
Yeah.
your friendship groups have grown as well, and the people around you can possibly lend you more advice than they were able to before. And I mean, I think my 40s so far have been probably the best years of my life, and before that, my 30s were the best years of my life. And I kind of feel like it could just get better and better and better, but we'll have to see with that. But I mean, we have to put proviso on this, because I am 42. I don't have any kids. I don't own a house. So some of the choices you make I'm limited in different ways, and I don't have the same kind of things to think about that other people have to think about. But I don't think that is any reason to stop. Exactly like I was saying before, where you look at the small things, start with the small things and just start doing some of those things. And loads of people who get to 40, your kids are now able to look after themselves. The kids that you have been a bit of an anchor to you, which is natural. They're dependent on their parents, aren't they? And as they get older and they're even just getting into their senior school, 11 to 18 or whatever, they're a little bit more able to be at home on their own whilst you go and remember what it's like to do things for yourself.
Yeah.
And because I think you have to start doing that. You have to look after yourself before you can even have any sort of idea of looking outwards and seeing who else you can look after, what other change you can create in this world. And I mean, it's not all over yet, guys. We've still got a good few years to go. And I do feel that. I mean, we're going to be living longer, healthier lives. We can change our career right now, have an absolutely blossoming career in something completely different, including being completely retrained, whether that's on, whether that's from university or, self-training yourself on things like YouTube, which is impossible for me. I can't do that sort of stuff, but have to learn through experience. But I think life begins at 40, gets better and better from there on.
Very good. So now, what's your definition of living your best life, or what I call a legendary life?
Well, I mean, I've been toying with actually a new talk, which is living like you're a billionaire. And I had all these kind of ideas in my head that when I make a lot of money, I'm going to start doing them. One of them was to set up a fund so I could help the people like me of 10 years ago who are just starting out on this place, and just give them a little bit of a leg up, give them some advice, mentor them. That was something I thought would be really cool when I've got an unlimited amount of money. And the other thing I wanted to do was just retire and do wood turning and just make bowls and things like this out of wood. And that's like both of, well, let's start with the wood turning because it's really, really simple. But that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to retire and get a wood turner and a little man cave and make bowls out of nature, create things out of nature. And suddenly I was just like, what? Why do I need to be a billionaire to do this? And I just signed up to a workshop near here and went and did it. And it sounds like a stupid thing. I'm kind of talking about this out loud, and I'm like, you just sound like a bit of an idiot, Dan. But actually, that was a thought in my head. That was one of those voices. It was like, when you're a billionaire, you can turn bowls. Like, I'm going to start turning bowls right now. And then with the Adventuregram, we launched the Adventuregram in in January of this year. I've got a few brands involved, and we raised a few £1,000s, and the winner of the inaugural Danny Bent Adventure Grant has been given to two lovely people, Lizzie and Zoe, who are going on a mad, crazy bicycle ride on bamboo into Northern Africa on bamboo bicycles. And boom, I'm living the life of a billionaire. It's super mega cool. Even if the bank balance doesn't have any zeros in it.
So you're basically saying it's basically being able to do whatever you want to do and making it kind of happen,
Yeah.
for you.
So, and I, that's really, there's limitations, aren't there?
Yeah.
But I think if you, because you can't afford everything, you can't do everything. You have got limited time. You've got most people, well, everyone has limited finances. But the things that are above your finance level, I mean, the things that cost money, full stop. They're you couldn't bring them back and just do those things anyway. The UK is, I'm in the UK. You're obviously over in Brazil, but here in the UK, it's a beautiful island, as is Brazil. Is a beautiful country. You can go and do amazing things locally and all this sort of stuff. You can have mini adventures just over the weekend or over one night. Yeah, it's there are limits to what you can do, but I don't think those are limiting in how good your life can be, because you don't need the big things. You don't need a Ferrari. You don't need a second house in the country, or all this sort of stuff. You just need to be being a bit authentic to yourself and giving to yourself. Listen to what you actually want rather than what you think your friends or your social media, even worse, want to see you doing, or you think they are going to like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's the thing to avoid, and to really stick with the things that really mean something. Have a Ferrari. That doesn't do anything for what's inside of you, what's really the beating heart of the animal within us.
Yeah.
Whereas going out and being in nature, or creating music with friends, or creating art, whatever it is your thing, that is the real beauty in life.
No, awesome. So to finish up, what are 3 life lessons you've learned in life that you think would be of value to others?
Be kind to yourself and look after yourself. Be kind to other people and look after other people. But the most important thing is my dad's words, and that's to be you, and to be you as hard as you can be, because that's the very best you can be.
Brilliant. Well, thanks, Danny. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. I'm sure a lot of people will get a lot of value out of this. So if anyone's interested in learning a little bit more about you and your projects, where can they find you online?
I think the best way probably is to go to dannybent.com, and from there you can see all the socials. But I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever else, YouTube. So you can go to any one of those if they're your desired platform. But if you go to my website, you can find everything from there.
Brilliant. Well, thanks again. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Damien.